I stood on the sidewalk clutching my hospital bag. The September sun beat down on the Georgia pavement. The air smelled of pine trees and fresh-cut grass. My legs wobbled weak from surgery, but my heart stronger. A moving truck blocked my driveway. Men hauled boxes through the front door of my house. My house! The white brick mansion I had lived in for decades. The one my late husband and I worked a lifetime for. I called out, my voice trembling. "Excuse me, what are you doing?" One of the men looked at me casually. "Ma'am, we're unloading for the new owners." New owners. The words hit me like a hammer. I gripped the iron gate, my breath catching. A young couple stepped out from the porch, smiling politely. The woman waved a folder of papers in her hand. "This house is ours now," she said confidently. "The sale closed last week. It's all legal." My knees buckled. For a moment, I thought I might faint right there. I forced myself to breathe. I stared at the porch swing, the same one where my husband kissed me goodnight. The same one where I rocked my baby girl Lisa to sleep. Now strangers called it theirs. The man held out a set of shiny keys. He wasn't cruel, just matter-of-fact. But every word felt like a knife. I stepped back, my chest burning. Was I dreaming? Had my mind failed me after surgery? Or had something unthinkable happened while I lay in that hospital bed? A sharp breeze rustled the oak trees. I caught the faint smell of barbecue from a neighbor's yard. Life in the neighborhood went on ordinary and calm. But for me, everything had collapsed in a single sentence. I whispered to myself, barely audible, "My daughter." What did you do? Because deep down I knew. No stranger could have sold my house. No lawyer could have signed the deed without my consent. Only Lisa, my only child, had the power to betray me like this. The new owners went inside. The door closed with a final thud, shutting me out. I stood alone on the driveway, the gravel crunching under my shoes. The mansion's windows glared back at me, silent witnesses to my humiliation. I remembered the smell of Thanksgiving turkey wafting through those rooms, the Christmas tree we used to decorate in the bay window, the laughter of grandchildren chasing each other across the wide backyard. This wasn't just a house. It was my history, my pride, my identity. And now it was gone. Sold while I was under anesthesia fighting for my life. The clock on my phone read 2 p.m. 2 hours earlier, I had been discharged from the hospital. The nurse wished me well. "Your daughter must be thrilled to bring you home." If only she knew. I sank onto the stone steps by the gate. The heat from the pavement seeped into my palms. I pressed my hand to my chest, feeling the scar beneath my blouse. My heart raced, but not from surgery. From rage. From disbelief. From fear. 50 years of sacrifice. Teaching in Georgia schools, saving every paycheck. Skipping vacations, driving an old Ford instead of a new car. Every dollar went toward that house. A $2.5 million dream. Now reduced to nothing more than a transaction. I thought of Lisa's words the night before surgery. "Don't worry, Mom. Just sign the papers. I'll take care of everything." Her smile had been so sweet, so convincing. I wanted to believe. I needed to believe. And now I felt like the world's biggest fool. A mockingbird called from the power line. The sound pierced the silence, sharp and lonely. It reminded me of how isolated I suddenly was. Even the neighbors who once waved at me warmly now avoided my eyes as they watered their lawns. They must have heard Lisa's story. They must think I chose this. But I hadn't. I would never. I stood again, legs trembling, but resolve forming inside me. Something was terribly wrong, but I wasn't powerless. Not yet. They thought I was old, fragile, easy to erase. They thought I would simply fade into a nursing home. They were wrong. So very wrong. I reached into my purse, feeling the weight of my phone. I remembered the recordings I had saved. I remembered the money I had quietly moved long before the surgery, just in case. My lips curved into a thin, bitter smile. Yes, they thought this was my quiet exit. But they had no idea. This was only the beginning. If you've ever watched Greed tear a family apart, comment where you're listening from. I want to know how far this story reaches. My name is Sarah Miller. I am 68 years old. A widow, a mother, a grandmother, and until last week, the proud owner of a mansion worth $2.5 million. I was born and raised in Georgia. Atlanta has always been my home. This city, with its red clay soil and endless oak trees. The smell of barbecue smoke drifting on Saturday afternoons. The church bells on Sunday mornings. It all shaped me into who I am. My late husband Robert was a contractor. Strong hands, a gentle smile. He built homes for others for 30 years. But the biggest project of his life was ours. A white brick mansion on 2 acres outside Atlanta. A wide porch wrapped around the front. A backyard big enough for cookouts, Easter egg hunts, and high school football practices. We bought it in the late 90s for $600,000. Back then, it felt impossible too big for 2 school teachers. But we worked. We saved. We sacrificed. I taught elementary school for 40 years. Robert picked up every extra job he could. By the time he passed away 15 years ago, the mortgage was paid in full. The value had grown. Today, that home is worth $2.5 million. It is more than money. It is my legacy. I live there with my daughter Lisa. She is 42, divorced once, remarried to a man named Eric. Eric is 45, out of steady work since last year. He spends more time watching football on TV than looking for a job. But Lisa insists he is trying. She says the economy is hard. I bite my tongue, though sometimes I want to scream. Lisa has always been my soft spot. She was my only child. I spoiled her when she was young. After Robert died, I gave her more than I should have. Paid off her first car. Helped with her college loans. Covered her rent when she divorced her first husband. And when she married Eric, I welcomed him into our home. I believed family comes first. I still do. We share the mansion, though it feels less like mine each day. Lisa redecorated the living room with modern furniture. She filled the kitchen with gadgets I do not know how to use. Air fryers, smart refrigerators, things I never asked for. I still prefer my cast iron skillet, the one blackened with decades of bacon grease. Lisa and Eric have 2 children, my grandkids. Michael, 16, tall, already driving his first truck. And Emily, 12, always with a book in her hands. They light up my world. I pack their school lunches. I drive Emily to soccer practice. I cheer for Michael under the Friday night lights. Those kids are my joy. But behind the laughter, I felt tension building. Eric whispered to Lisa in corners. Bills piled up on the counter. Credit card statements stuffed in drawers. I pretended not to see, but my teacher's eyes notice everything. One evening, I overheard a sharp exchange. Eric said that house could solve everything. 1 sale and we're free. Lisa hissed, not yet. She's not ready. I stood frozen in the hallway, clutching the laundry basket. They had no idea I was there. Or maybe they did not care. I shook it off, telling myself I misheard. But a seed of doubt was planted. My health had been fragile. Last spring, I collapsed in the grocery store. Doctors said my heart valve was failing. I needed surgery. They warned me recovery would be slow. I tried to stay calm, but Lisa's sudden concern seemed almost too much. She hovered over me with paperwork. Mom, just sign this. It's temporary. Power of attorney. That way, I can handle bills while you recover. Her tone was honey sweet. Her eyes glistened with what I thought was love. I signed. I trusted. Because what kind of mother doubts her own daughter? Our neighbors noticed changes too. Mrs. Martha from next door pulled me aside one morning. She said, "Sarah, I heard Lisa talking about putting the house on the market." I laughed nervously. Impossible. This is our family home. But Martha's face stayed serious. She had lived beside us 30 years. She would not lie. I pushed the thought away, but unease stayed with me. I began moving savings quietly. 50,000 here, 100,000 there, into accounts Lisa could not touch. It felt paranoid at the time. Now I know it saved me. Still, I tried to enjoy life with my grandkids. We grilled hot dogs in the backyard on Memorial Day. We went to church together on Easter Sunday. I baked peach cobbler for Emily's birthday. Moments like those kept me sane. Moments like those reminded me of what family is supposed to mean. But tension snapped one evening at dinner. We sat around the oak table, plates of fried chicken steaming. The kids laughed, pouring sweet tea into mason jars. And then Lisa's voice cut through the joy. "Mom, this house is too big for you. You should think about moving into a nice retirement community. They take care of everything. No stress. No bills." The room fell silent. Even Eric looked down at his plate. Emily's fork clinked against her glass. Michael shifted uncomfortably. My cheeks burned, but I forced a smile. "I am not ready for that," I said. "This house is my life's work." Lisa rolled her eyes, muttering under her breath. But I heard. She said, "What a waste." I lost my appetite that night. I stared at my plate, the golden chicken skin turning cold. Something had shifted. The daughter I raised, the child I gave everything to, no longer saw a mother. She saw an obstacle. Still, I went into surgery clinging to hope. I told myself I was imagining things, that Lisa would never betray me, that family bonds were unbreakable. But standing outside my home watching strangers carry furniture into my living room, I realized hope had blinded me. My daughter had sold me out, and she thought I was too weak to fight back. I tried to convince myself everything was fine. I told myself Lisa was just stressed, not cruel. But the small things started piling up. One morning, I walked into the kitchen. Lisa quickly shut her laptop. The screen went dark before I could see. She forced a smile. "Morning, Mom. How are you feeling?" Her voice sounded too bright, too practiced. On the counter lay a stack of envelopes. Bills, credit card statements, mortgage flyers. I knew the look of overdue notices. I had taught math for decades. Numbers spoke louder than words. I reached for one envelope. Lisa snatched it up. "Oh, just junk mail." "Don't worry about it." Her hands trembled slightly as she shoved it in a drawer. My stomach turned. Later that week, Eric disappeared for hours. He came home smelling of beer, but tucked under his arm was a glossy folder. I caught a glimpse before he hid it. It read Atlanta Luxury Realty. I froze. Realty. Why would Eric have anything to do with realtors we were not buying? We were not selling. At least I thought we were not. I asked him casually. "Long day, Eric," he muttered. "Yeah?" "Just meeting a buddy." Then he disappeared into the garage. The door slammed. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the place where the folder had been. That night, I heard voices. The kids were asleep. The house was quiet, except for whispers down the hall. Lisa's voice sharp and anxious. Eric's voice low and insistent. "We have to move fast," Eric said. "She'll be out of the hospital for weeks. We can close the deal before she knows." My heart pounded. I gripped the hallway wall for balance. I should have confronted them, but fear held me back. Instead, I crept back to my room, tears in my eyes. The next morning, Lisa acted like nothing happened. She poured me coffee, kissed my cheek, but the taste was bitter in my mouth. Not the coffee, the betrayal. A few days later, I visited my neighbor Martha. She had been my friend for 30 years. We shared pies at Thanksgiving sweet tea in the summer. She looked uneasy as I stepped into her kitchen. "Sarah," she said softly, "I saw Lisa with a realtor last week. They were walking through your yard, measuring things. I thought maybe you asked her to, but something felt off." My throat went dry. I shook my head. "No, Martha. I never asked her." Her eyes filled with pity. "Be careful, Sarah. I don't like what I'm hearing." Driving home, my hands trembled on the steering wheel. It was only a 5-mile drive, but it felt like 50. Every red light gave me more time to think. And every thought hurt worse than the last. When I walked through the front door, I heard laughter. Lisa and Eric were in the living room. Papers were spread across the coffee table. They jumped when they saw me. "Just planning Emily's school fundraiser," Lisa said quickly. She shoved the papers into a folder. Emily's fundraiser. I had been a teacher. Fundraisers never came with thick legal documents. I pretended to smile, but inside my chest ached. I excused myself, went upstairs, and closed my bedroom door. I opened my nightstand drawer. Inside were my checkbook savings statements and a small recorder. I had bought the recorder years ago to keep track of notes. Now I stared at it, wondering if it might save me. I pressed record. I whispered to myself, "Something is wrong. They are planning something. If anyone ever doubts me, this will prove it." That night, I slept poorly. Dreams of strangers walking through my house haunted me. Every creak of the floorboards jolted me awake. By morning, I felt 10 years older. Lisa walked in cheerfully. "Mom, you need to rest. Don't worry about bills. Don't worry about anything. I've got it all under control." Under control. Her words echoed like a warning. 2 days later, Eric left his phone on the kitchen counter. It buzzed with a new message. I should not have looked. But something pulled me toward it. A text flashed across the screen. "Confirmed for showing Friday at 3 p.m. Please make sure the owner is not present." I gasped, covering my mouth with my hand. My legs nearly gave out. Owner not present. That owner was me. I hurried back to my room, my heart racing. Friday. They planned to show my house Friday, while I was scheduled for another round of pre-surgery tests. It all clicked together. The paperwork, the whispers, the folder, the lies. They were not waiting for me to get better. They were waiting for me to get weaker. I picked up my phone, ready to call the police, but I stopped. What would I say that my daughter was suspicious that my son-in-law had a realtor folder? They would laugh. Without proof, it was only my word against theirs. So I chose patience. I chose silence. For now. That evening at dinner, Lisa leaned close. She said sweetly, "Mom, don't stress. Once you're through surgery, everything will be better. You'll thank me one day." Her hand patted mine gently, but her eyes told another story. Cold, calculating, determined. I chewed my food in silence. Michael and Emily chatted about school. Eric drank another beer. Lisa smiled like nothing was wrong. But inside, my heart screamed. They thought they were smart. They thought I was blind. They thought I was weak. I was not. And soon they would find out. Friday night, 2 days before my surgery. I wanted one last family dinner at home. The oak table was set with my best china. The smell of fried chicken filled the kitchen. Biscuits baked golden in the oven. A peach cobbler cooled on the counter. Michael carried iced tea in mason jars. Emily folded napkins carefully humming a tune. Eric cracked open a beer, leaning against the counter. Lisa floated around, acting like the perfect daughter. For a moment, it felt normal. Like old times. Like family. But under the laughter, my chest tightened. I knew something was wrong. And I was about to see it clearly. We gathered around the table. The chandelier cast warm light on our plates. The smell of butter and honey drifted up from the biscuits. I bowed my head to pray. Lord, bless this food and bless our family. My voice cracked on the last word. We ate in silence at first. The chicken crisped just right. The tea was sweet, almost too sweet, but my appetite was gone. I could not swallow past the lump in my throat. Eric broke the silence. So Lisa, did you call that realtor back? He said it casually, like asking about the weather. But my fork froze halfway to my mouth. Lisa's eyes widened, then narrowed. She gave him a sharp look. Her foot tapped against his under the table. I set my fork down. What realtor? I asked softly. The room fell still. Even Emily stopped chewing. Lisa forced a laugh. Oh, Mom, it's nothing. Eric means the retirement place we looked at. They have agents too to help seniors downsize. Her tone was syrupy sweet, but her cheeks flushed red. I folded my hands in my lap. I never asked you to call anyone. This is my home. I am not downsizing. Michael shifted in his chair. Grandma, do you really need such a big house? It's like 5,000 square feet. You could be happier somewhere smaller. I looked at him, my heart breaking. My grandson repeating their lines. I forced a smile. This house is not too big for me. It is just the right size for family. For holidays, for birthdays, for barbecues. You will understand one day. Lisa sighed loudly. Mom, be reasonable. You just had heart surgery. You cannot keep up with a mansion. The yard is 2 acres. The stairs are steep. It's dangerous for you. I leaned forward, my voice steady. I have managed this house for 25 years. I am not afraid of stairs. I am not afraid of space. What scares me is being forced somewhere I do not belong. Her face hardened. Eric cleared his throat. We're just looking out for you. Nursing homes have great care. 3 meals a day. Doctors on call. It's the smart choice. Nursing home. The words stabbed me. I glanced at Emily. She stared at her plate silent. She knew. She always knew more than she said. I felt heat rising in my chest. I wanted to scream, to slam my fist on the table. But instead, I smiled tightly. Thank you for your concern. But I am not ready to leave this house. And I never signed anything saying I would. Lisa's fork clattered onto her plate. Her eyes flashed with something cold. Mom, you did sign. The power of attorney, remember, that gives me the right to help you. To make decisions when you cannot. Her words hung in the air like smoke. Michael looked confused. Emily's eyes darted toward me wide with fear. Eric took another sip of beer. I set my napkin on the table. I looked Lisa straight in the eye. I gave you that paper because I trusted you. Not so you could take my choices. Not so you could plan behind my back. She opened her mouth, then shut it again. Her lips pressed into a thin line. The kids looked between us like tennis spectators. The tension was thick enough to choke on. I pushed back my chair. The wooden legs scraped across the floor. I am tired. Thank you for dinner. Good night. I walked out of the dining room, up the stairs, into my bedroom. I shut the door, my hands trembling. I pressed my back against the wood, breathing hard. My heart pounded not from weakness, but from rage. Lisa had said it out loud. She thought that paper gave her control. She thought she could make my choices. But she was wrong. So wrong. I walked to my nightstand, opened the drawer, took out the recorder. I pressed record. Into the silence, I spoke. Tonight, my daughter revealed her intentions. She plans to use the power of attorney against me. She plans to take my home, but I will not let her. I will fight. I set the recorder back carefully. Then I sat on the bed, staring at the wall. The house creaked as if it too was listening. Downstairs, voices rose. Lisa's hiss. Eric's low growl. I could not make out the words, but I knew what they were about. Me and my house. I turned off the light, but sleep never came. I lay awake, watching shadows crawl across the ceiling. The fight had begun, and I was not backing down. The morning of my surgery came heavy and cold. I kissed Emily's forehead, squeezed Michael's hand. Lisa drove me to the hospital in her SUV. She smiled too much, her hands tight on the wheel. Don't worry, Mom. Everything will be fine. I nodded, praying she meant it. The surgery was long. Hours blurred into lights, monitors, and nurses' voices. When I opened my eyes, days had passed. The doctor smiled, saying the valve repair went well. You're strong, Mrs. Miller. You'll recover just fine. I thanked him with tears in my eyes. But lying in that hospital bed, my mind kept drifting back home. The porch swing swaying in the breeze. The smell of peach cobbler in the kitchen. The sound of Emily's laughter echoing down the hallway. Would I see it all again? Lisa visited often, always cheerful. She brought Flowers Magazine's sweet tea in a plastic cup. But her eyes darted around nervously, never settling on mine. Eric came once, checked his watch the whole time. The kids sent texts, "Love you, Grandma." Those texts kept me alive. 1 week later, the doctor said I could go home. I signed the discharge papers with a shaky hand. Lisa was supposed to pick me up, but she didn't show. I called her cell. No answer. So I called a cab. The driver helped me with my bag. We drove 10 miles back to my house. The trees along the road blurred as fear built inside me. When we turned the corner, my chest went cold. A moving truck sat in my driveway. Men in uniforms carried boxes inside. My porch was crowded with strangers. Children ran across my lawn laughing. Their voices pierced me like knives. I stumbled out of the cab. "Excuse me?" I called, my voice trembling. A woman turned toward me holding a clipboard. She looked surprised, then polite. "Oh, you must be the former owner. We closed last week." "I'm so sorry. Was no one here to tell you?" Former owner. The words rang in my ears. I shook my head. This is my house. I never sold it. The woman's smile faltered. "I'm afraid the papers are signed. The deed is clear. We bought it from your daughter." She handed me a folder. There it was. My name. Her signature. The house transferred for $2.5 million. I staggered back, clutching the gate. The world spun. The doctor's warning echoed in my mind. Take it easy, avoid stress. How could I avoid stress now? Lisa's car pulled into the driveway. She stepped out, looking annoyed. Mom, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be resting. My voice cracked. What have you done, Lisa? She crossed her arms. I did what needed to be done. This house was too much for you. I sold it. It's time for you to move on. Her words cut deeper than any scalpel. You sold my home, the place your father built, the place you grew up. Lisa's eyes were cold. You're old, Mom. You don't need 5,000 square feet. You don't need 2 acres of lawn. You don't need this stress. I found a wonderful nursing home in Savannah. They have great care 3 meals a day. You'll be safe there. Safe. She called it safe. But to me, it was a prison. A cage made of betrayal. She reached into her purse. She handed me an envelope. This is your share. $50,000. That's more than enough for the home. I stared at the check. $50,000 out of $2.5 million. My life's work reduced to a scrap. I let the envelope fall to the ground. Tears blurred my vision. You betrayed me, Lisa. You took everything. She shrugged. I saved you from yourself. One day you'll thank me. Behind her, Eric stood by the truck smirking. The children of the new family ran through my garden. My roses crushed under their shoes. My porch swing now theirs. My world stolen. I felt my chest tighten, not from surgery, but from fury. I clenched the gate until my knuckles turned white. Lisa, this isn't over. You'll regret this. She laughed softly. Mom, what can you do? The papers are signed. The money's mine. You're too weak to fight me. Her words burned into my soul. Too weak. That's what she thought. But she had no idea. The cab driver stepped forward. Ma'am, do you need me to take you somewhere? I nodded, wiping my tears. Yes. Take me to a hotel. I climbed into the back seat. As we drove away, I looked one last time. The house stood tall, glowing in the Georgia sun. But it was no longer mine. Not yet. I pressed my hand to my purse. Inside was the small recorder, and on it Lisa's voice. Her confession from that dinner table. She thought she had won, but she had just given me the proof I needed. This was not the end. This was only the beginning of my fight. The cab dropped me at a small roadside motel. Neon lights flickered above the office door. A tired clerk handed me a key card. Room 204. Second floor. I walked slowly up the stairs. Each step felt heavier than the last. My chest ached, not from stitches, but from sorrow. Inside the room smelled of bleach and stale smoke. The carpet was worn, the curtains thin. I set my hospital bag on the bed. I sat down, staring at the faded wallpaper. I had gone from a $2.5 million mansion to a $50 motel room in one day. I pressed my face into my hands and cried. Images flooded my mind. Robert hammering boards, building our dream house. Lisa chasing butterflies in the yard. Christmas mornings by the fireplace. The laughter, the love, the years of sacrifice. Gone. I whispered into the empty room. Robert, what would you do? How did we raise her to be this way? Silence answered me. I reached into my purse. I pulled out the envelope Lisa gave me. The check for $50,000. I tore it in half. The pieces fluttered onto the carpet. That money meant nothing. It was soaked in betrayal. I lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. For hours, I drifted between sleep and tears. Every sound from the parking lot jolted me. Engines revving, doors slamming, footsteps outside. I felt unsafe, small, invisible. The next morning, I walked to the diner nearby. A bell jingled as I pushed the door open. The smell of bacon and coffee wrapped around me. I slid into a booth, ordered black coffee. The waitress poured it without asking. "You look like you need this, honey." I nodded, too tired to explain. I stirred the sugar slowly. Each swirl reminded me of time slipping away. I had no house, no place to go, no plan. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Emily. "Grandma, I miss you." "Are you okay?" Tears filled my eyes. Even in the middle of betrayal, love remained. I typed back quickly. "I'm okay, sweetheart." "Always remember, I love you." Her reply came fast. "I love you too. Don't give up. Don't give up." Those words hit me like a spark. I left the diner with my heart still heavy, but a new thread of strength weaving inside me. Back at the motel, I pulled out the recorder. I pressed play. Lisa's voice filled the room. "Mom, you signed? That gives me the right. You can't handle this house. It's mine now." Her tone was sharp, cruel, undeniable. I clutched the recorder like a weapon. This was proof. This was my chance. Still, fear gnawed at me. What if the courts laughed? What if no one believed me? What if Lisa had already covered her tracks? I needed advice. So I called Pastor Williams from our church. His deep voice answered warmly. "Sarah, I heard about the house. I'm so sorry." I broke down, telling him everything. He listened quietly, then said, "You are not alone. God sees. And the law sees too. Do not lose hope." His words steadied me. For the first time since leaving the hospital, I felt less alone. That evening, Martha knocked on my motel door. She held up her iPhone. "Sarah, I filmed something last week. I didn't know if I should, but now I know." She pressed play. On the screen, Lisa and Eric walked through my yard with a realtor. Lisa's voice was clear. "My mom won't be a problem. She's going to a home." I gasped, covering my mouth. "Martha, this is everything." She nodded firmly. "You need to fight. Don't let them win." Proof. I had proof. Not just my word. Not just my pain. But video and audio. Evidence no one could deny. That night, I sat on the bed, the recorder on one side, the phone on the other. In the middle, a notepad. I began writing a plan. Step 1, call a lawyer. Step 2, protect what savings I had left. Step 3, prepare for court. But before all that, I let myself grieve. I needed to feel the loss fully before I could rise again. I cried until my pillow was soaked. I screamed into the empty room words I never thought I'd say. "I hate you, Lisa. I hate what you've done." Then silence. A silence so deep it felt holy. I breathed slowly, deeply. My rage cooled into something sharper. Resolve. I was not weak. I was not finished. They wanted me to fade quietly. But I was still here. And I was ready to fight. The next morning, I woke with swollen eyes. But my heart felt different. Not broken, not weak. Focused. I dressed slowly, brushed my silver hair back. I looked in the mirror. For the first time in days, I saw not a victim. I saw a fighter. I grabbed my purse, my recorder, Martha's video. I slid them into a folder. Then I picked up the phone. It was time to call a lawyer. Jefferson and Cole attorneys at law, a woman answered. Her voice was smooth professional. I asked for Mr. Jefferson. He had been Robert's lawyer years ago. He helped us close on the house. He knew my history. An hour later, I sat in his office downtown. The building was old brick walls, heavy wooden doors. The receptionist offered me iced coffee, Georgia hospitality, even in legal matters. Mr. Jefferson entered, gray hair, sharp eyes. Sarah, it's been too long. I wish the circumstances were better. I almost cried at his kindness. Instead, I opened my folder. I played the recording. Lisa's voice filled the room. Mom, you signed. That gives me the right. You can't handle this house. It's mine now. Then Martha's video. Lisa walking through the yard with a realtor. Her voice cold and clear. My mom won't be a problem. She's going to a home. Jefferson leaned back, jaw tight. This is strong evidence. She abused the power of attorney. That's fraud. And with this video, it shows intent. Fraud. The word echoed like thunder. Finally, someone said it aloud. He explained carefully. We can file for revocation of power of attorney. We can freeze any accounts she tried to access. We can challenge the sale, even reverse it, because it was done under false pretenses. And Sarah, you still have rights. This is not over. My eyes burned with tears. Mr. Jefferson, she sold the house. It's gone. He leaned forward, steady and calm. Sarah, sometimes the law takes time, but we will bring it back. Or we will make her pay for every penny. I nodded, gripping the folder like it was life itself. He began writing notes, filing papers. He said we'll need financial records. Do you have savings she doesn't know about? And here came my secret. I smiled for the first time in days. Yes. Before surgery, I moved my money. Every dollar I had, I put into new accounts. She has no access. His eyebrows rose. That was wise. Very wise. A spark of pride lit in me. For once, my caution had saved me. Lisa thought she drained me. But she was wrong. She had sold the house, but she did not have my savings. We spent 2 hours going over details. Jefferson explained each step patiently. He would file to revoke the power of attorney. He would subpoena the realtor. He would demand financial disclosure. When I left his office, the sun shone brighter than it had all week. I clutched the papers to my chest. I wasn't powerless anymore. That night, I called Emily. She whispered into the phone, Grandma, are you safe? Yes, sweetheart? I'm safe. And I'm fighting back. Her breath caught. I knew you would. Don't give up. Her faith filled me with fire. The next day, Martha drove me to the bank. Her old pickup rattled country music humming on the radio. Inside, I met with the manager. We froze any accounts Lisa had touched. We secured my savings with new protections. I walked out lighter, stronger. Later, Jefferson called with news. Sarah, I uncovered something else. Your daughter never transferred the money directly. She routed it through 3 accounts. If we can trace it, we can prove she intended to hide it. That makes the case stronger. A second twist. Lisa thought she was clever, but every move she made left a trail. And now that trail would destroy her? That evening, I sat at the motel desk. The lamp buzzed softly, moths tapping the shade. I wrote in my journal. They think age makes me weak, but wisdom is stronger than youth. My scars are proof I survived worse than this, and I will survive this too. I laid down the pen, my heart pounding with new energy. I no longer felt like a widow left behind. I felt like a woman preparing for battle. This was not just about a house. It was about my name, my dignity, my right to live on my terms. They underestimated me. They thought I would accept defeat. But I was Sarah Miller, and I was about to remind them. The courthouse loomed tall against the Georgia sky. Brick walls, heavy columns, an American flag waving high. I clutched my folder of evidence to my chest. Inside the recorder, Martha's video. My hope. Mr. Jefferson walked beside me. Stay calm, Sarah. Truth is on your side. I nodded, though my hands shook. The air smelled of rain on hot pavement. Thunderclouds gathered heavy and dark. A fitting day for justice. Inside the courtroom buzzed with voices. Wooden benches creaked as people sat. The bailiff called for order. Lisa and Eric entered dressed sharp. Lisa wore a navy dress, pearls at her neck. She smiled at the crowd as if she were the victim. Her lawyer, a young man with slick hair, whispered in her ear. She nodded, smug. Eric leaned back in his chair, smirking. My stomach churned. The judge entered. All rose. A stern woman in black robes. Her gavel cracked once. Be seated. The case was called Sarah Miller versus Lisa Carter regarding allegations of fraud and abuse of power of attorney. The words echoed. My own daughter's name tied to fraud. I swallowed hard. Lisa's lawyer spoke first. Your Honor, my client acted in her mother's best interest. The home was too large, too dangerous. She ensured her mother's care and safety. This was not theft. This was love. Love. The word curdled in my ears. I gripped the edge of the table. Then Jefferson stood. Your Honor, we intend to show otherwise. We will prove intentional fraud. We will prove greed, not care, drove her actions. The judge nodded. Proceed. Lisa took the stand. Her hands folded neatly, her smile rehearsed. Mom wasn't safe in that house. 5,000 square feet, steep stairs, 2 acres of yard. I was only protecting her. She signed the papers willingly. The courtroom murmured. I sat still, my eyes locked on hers. She avoided my gaze. Then Jefferson rose. Mrs. Carter, do you recall this conversation? He pressed play on the recorder. My voice filled the room. I never asked you to sell my house. Then Lisa's voice, sharp, undeniable. Mom, you signed. That gives me the right. You can't handle this house. It's mine now. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Lisa's smile faltered. Her lawyer jumped up. Objection, Your Honor. This recording is incomplete, taken out of context. The judge raised a hand. Overruled. Continue. Jefferson nodded. Very well. Perhaps this will provide more context. He turned to Martha, seated in the witness row. Mrs. Harris, would you please share your video? Martha stood steady despite her age. She handed her phone to the bailiff. The video projected onto the courtroom screen. There was Lisa walking through my yard with a realtor. Her voice clear as day. My mom won't be a problem. She's going to a home. We'll close quickly. The room erupted. Whispers, shocked gasps, heads shaking. Even the judge leaned forward. Lisa's face turned pale. Her hands gripped the chair arms. Jefferson spoke firmly. Your Honor, this was not care. This was a plan. A deliberate deception. She lied to neighbors, lied to her mother, and profited from the sale of a $2.5 million home. Lisa stammered. That's not true. Mom was confused. She wanted this. I stood, my voice shaking but clear. No, Lisa. I never wanted this. I trusted you. And you sold my life out from under me." The judge banged her gavel for silence. Order in the court. Jefferson presented bank records. "Here, Your Honor, proof of multiple transfers. Funds routed through 3 accounts, a clear attempt to hide assets. This is fraud, plain and simple." The judge studied the papers, her eyes sharp. The silence stretched heavy. Finally, she looked up. "Mrs. Carter, do you have anything to say?" Lisa's lips trembled. Her eyes darted around, searching for escape. Her lawyer whispered frantically, but it was too late. The truth lay bare for all to see. The judge's voice cut like steel. "This court finds sufficient evidence of fraud and abuse. The sale of the property is void. Funds will be returned, and further penalties will be determined." The gavel slammed. Boom. Final. The room erupted again. Gasps, whispers, eyes all on Lisa. She shrank in her chair, her face pale. Eric cursed under his breath. Reporters scribbled notes furiously. I sat still, tears rolling down my cheeks. Not of sorrow, of relief. For the first time in weeks, justice had spoken. As I stood to leave, I caught Lisa's eyes. For a second, I saw the little girl I raised, the child who once held my hand at church. But then the image shattered, replaced by the woman she became. Greed had stolen her soul. I walked past her without a word. The courthouse doors opened wide. Outside, the rain had finally broken. Drops fell heavy on the Georgia streets. I lifted my face to the sky, letting the rain wash me clean. This battle was not finished. But the tide had turned, and for once I was winning. The courthouse steps were slick with rain. Reporters crowded near microphones outstretched. "Mrs. Miller, how does it feel to win?" I shielded my face, whispering it wasn't a win. It was survival. Mr. Jefferson guided me to his car. "You did well, Sarah. Justice spoke today, but the road isn't over." I nodded, exhausted. That night, news spread fast. The Atlanta Journal ran the headline, "Widow defrauded by daughter wins court case." My name in black print, my pain laid out for the whole city to see. Neighbors called, voices filled with sympathy. "Sarah, we had no idea. We're so proud you stood up." But their kindness cut me too. Pride couldn't fill the hole Lisa left. Lisa's world crumbled overnight. The court ordered her to repay $2.5 million. On top of that, $500,000 in damages. Penalties stacked higher than she could ever handle. Eric packed his bags 2 days later. I heard from Martha that he left in a pickup truck. He didn't even say goodbye to Michael and Emily. Just vanished down the Georgia highway. Lisa called me once. Her voice cracked. "Mom, please, I didn't mean for it to end this way. I was just trying to save us." I stayed silent. My heart longed to comfort her, but my mind knew better. Finally, I said quietly, "You didn't save us, Lisa. You destroyed us." Then I hung up. The silence after that call was heavy. I sat on the edge of the motel bed. The same cheap carpet. The same thin curtains. But inside me, something had shifted. I was not the broken one anymore. Lisa was. Michael stopped by one afternoon. He stood awkwardly in the doorway. "Grandma, Mom messed up. But I don't hate her. She's still my mom." I hugged him tight, tears burning my eyes. "I know, sweetheart. And she'll always be your mom. But you need to see what greed does. It destroys." Emily sent me a drawing. A house tall and white with roses in front. Underneath, she wrote, "Home is where Grandma is." I cried for hours holding that picture. Meanwhile, Lisa's reputation sank. Friends stopped answering her calls. Neighbors whispered when she walked past. At the grocery store, I overheard a woman mutter, "That's the one who stole from her mother." She couldn't escape it. She was branded, not just by the court, but by her own choices. Jefferson called me with updates. Funds are being returned. The house is legally yours again. But Sarah, remember, money doesn't heal family. I knew he was right. The house might come back. The bank accounts might refill. But my daughter was gone in spirit. One evening, I drove by the mansion. The porch light glowed softly. The roses were still crushed from strangers' feet. But it was mine again, though it felt different now. Not safe. Not whole. Haunted. I parked at the curb, sat in the dark. Memories flooded. Robert's laugh echoing from the porch. Lisa's tiny footsteps on the stairs. Birthday candles glowing in the dining room. So much life. So much love. And now so much pain. I whispered into the night, "Lord, thank you for justice. But please teach me how to forgive. Because right now, I don't know if I can." The court's judgment spread through the community. People saw me not as weak but as strong. They said, "Sarah, you fought back. You showed us age doesn't mean powerless." It was true. But strength had come at a cost. Lisa faced bankruptcy. Her car repossessed, her credit ruined. Every account drained by the judgment. She moved into a small apartment on the edge of town. From a navy dress in court to thrift store jeans. From pride to shame. And still part of me ached. She was my daughter. My only child. No court ruling could change that. But no mother should have to choose between justice and her own blood. At church, Pastor Williams prayed over me. He said, "Sarah, the Lord delivers justice. But healing is another road. It takes time." I nodded, holding Emily's hand. Time. Maybe one day. But not yet. For now, the fallout was real. Lisa lost her husband. She lost her wealth. She lost her dignity. And she lost me. The judge had been clear. The price of betrayal is high. And Lisa paid it in full. I woke to birdsong outside my new window. Soft light streamed through lace curtains. The house was smaller, only 1,200 square feet. One story, easy to walk, easy to keep clean. But it was mine. Completely mine. The garden out back was full of roses. I planted them myself with Emily's help. Michael built a small fence painted white. Every morning, I walked out, coffee in hand, watching the sun rise over my little patch of Georgia soil. Peace had returned to me. Not the mansion, not the millions, but peace. The court's judgment held strong. Lisa was forced to repay. 2.5 million plus 500,000. The money returned the house, legally mine again. But I sold it. I couldn't live there anymore. Too many ghosts, too much pain. Instead, I gave part of the money to charity. A children's hospital in Atlanta. A scholarship fund for young teachers. Causes Robert would have loved. The rest I saved enough for comfort, enough for Emily and Michael if they ever needed help. But not a penny for Lisa. She tried calling again. Voicemails full of tears, pleas for forgiveness, claims she had changed. I listened once. Then I deleted every message. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is letting go of the weight. But I could not welcome her back into my life. Not after what she did. Eric never returned. Last I heard, he left the state. Lisa now lived in a small rented apartment. Her car repossessed her credit, ruined her name, spoken with shame in every circle. That was her consequence. the price of greed, the cost of betrayal. Meanwhile, my life filled with quiet joys again. Sundays at church, barbecue dinners with Martha, laughter with my grandkids in the garden, the sound of cicadas at night, the comfort of knowing I was safe in my own bed. Some nights, I sat on the porch, swinging the same swing Robert built for me years ago. I closed my eyes, feeling the breeze, hearing his voice in my memory. He would be proud, I thought. Not because I fought in court, but because I stood up for myself. Emily often curled up beside me. "Grandma, are you happy now?" I smiled, stroking her hair. "Yes, sweetheart. I am. Happier than I thought I could be." Michael mowed the lawn on Saturdays. He was tall now, broad-shouldered. He reminded me of Robert in small ways. Strong, steady, protective. He looked at me once and said, "You're the toughest person I know, Grandma." That meant more than any court victory. The seasons passed. Fall leaves painted the yard orange and gold. Winter brought quiet nights with hot cocoa by the fire. Spring bloomed again, roses thick with fragrance. And through it all, I found healing. I learned something important in those months. Houses can be taken. Money can be stolen. But dignity survives when you refuse to bow. And trust once broken can never be the same. I changed my will. Everything I owned would go to charity, to causes that could not betray me, to children and teachers who would build futures instead of destroying families. It was my final lesson to Lisa, a lesson she may never accept. But it was the truth. One evening, sitting on the porch, I thought about all of it. The betrayal, the courtroom, the judgment, the anger, the sorrow, the healing. And I whispered to myself I survived. And I smiled, because surviving was enough. Now I want to leave you with a question. If someone you loved betrayed you, not just with lies, but with everything you owned, what would you do? Would you fight back? Would you forgive? Or would you walk away and start again? Think about it. Because betrayal tests more than your strength. It tests your soul. And if you've listened this far, thank you for walking with me through my story. I hope you never face what I faced. But if you do remember my words, you are stronger than you think. If you believe in justice, if you believe in family lessons, please subscribe to this channel. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. And comment below, tell me your thoughts. Because stories heal when they are shared. This was my story. I am Sarah Miller. And I am finally at peace.